Types of Difficult People. Unit 4, Lesson 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conflict Resolution and Peacemaking, the class that teaches you how to manage interpersonal conflict and drama for yourself and others. I'm your instructor, David Lowry. Welcome to the third lesson on the peacemaker's approach to difficult people. In this lesson, we will describe common types of people who actively work against the relational processes needed to resolve problems and everyday drama. We will certainly not explain all situations, but we will describe the issues people face daily. These include bullies, verbal abusers, passive aggressive individuals, and narcissists. Let's begin with bullies. What is a bully? It's a person who shows aggressive behavior ranging from mild persecution to full on antisocial, narcissistic, and psychopathic behaviors. There are many scholarly definitions of bullying. However, when we combine these definitions, we find that bullying consists of the following four things. First, there's threatening and aggressive behavior. Secondly, there's the infliction of physical or emotional harm. Thirdly, intentional or non intentional injury. And number four, the imbalance of power. Bullies use direct and indirect methods. Direct methods include physical and verbal aggression, such as physical harm, yelling, screaming, and the like in the presence of a victim or target. Indirect methods are harder to detect but include such things as spreading rumors, lies, gossip, and other forms of reputational harm where the target is not aware of what's happening. Indirect forms of bullying are the most common. While most people respect the feelings and needs of others, bullies do not. They have a high need for dominance, and they will disrespect people they believe are weak, such as empathic individuals. When victims show their deference or submission, they ignore the fact and continue inflicting pain. They have low abilities to empathize and are often disrespectful to others. Scholars, such as Ireland, found that bullies rationalize their aggressive behavior in the following ways. They claim their victims are deserving of bullying. They view their victims as attention seekers who deserve it. They justify their actions as necessary for getting something done, and they believe others should experience the same treatment they received. The Encyclopedia of Domestic Violence also includes these qualities associated with bullying in a family context. There can be social abuse, such as isolating victims from seeing family and friends, or preventing the victim from leaving home, and verbally degrading the victim in front of others. Sexual abuse, all forms of unwanted sexual activity. There's physical abuse, including the destruction of property and valued items. There's the manipulation of family members, pitting one family member against another, starting arguments, gossip, and innuendo. And finally, there's emotional manipulation, making people feel guilty about their actions, opinions, or beliefs. A primary form of bullying is verbal abuse, also known as verbal attacks. We define this as any kind of verbal communication that attacks, belittles, or demeans people instead of addressing problems and fundamental issues. In her book, The Verbally Abusive Relationship, noted author Patricia Evans discusses a variety of verbally abusive behaviors. While some of the items in this list are self explanatory, we want to provide some definitions for some that may be less so. Number one is withholding. That's the failure to share meaningful thoughts and feelings. Number two, countering, or the tendency to be argumentative over almost everything. No matter what is said, one offers a differing point of view. Number three is discounting. That's telling a person they're oversensitive or shouldn't feel the way they do about something that's been said. Number four, blocking and diverting. That's where you control the conversation so that the other person doesn't get to say what's important to them. Number five is trivializing, undermining the importance of what a person thinks, says, or does. Number six, ordering. That's being demanding and telling people what to do. And the last one, number seven, the tendency to rationalize one's bad behavior when confronted by it. Each of these verbal behaviors, described by Patricia Evans, denies the rightful experiences of others and demeans their thoughts and feelings. Another kind of behavior peacemakers encounter is passive aggressive actions. Though there is a large body of literature on passive aggressive behaviors in social science literature, in recent times this concept has been considered a component of a larger body of personality disorders called negativistic. As we use it in this lesson, we intend to describe typical behavior patterns in conflict situations. According to the APA Dictionary of Psychology, passive aggressive behaviors is seemingly innocuous, accidental, or neutral, but indirectly displays an unconscious aggressive motive. For example, a person who constantly keeps people waiting and then is baffled by why they resent this behavior is passively aggressively disavowing an unconscious wish to be special and provoke those who fail to acknowledge the specialness. Others define passive aggressive behavior as a combination of five elements: rigidity, resentment, resistance, reactance, and reversed reinforcement. Let's look at each of these. Rigidity. The person is inflexible, stubborn, and believes that nobody is going to tell me what to do. This person finds it hard to listen to the ideas of others. Resentment. Not only do passive aggressive people not like being told what to do, but they also resent authority figures, rules, policies, and the like. Rather than discuss regulations and procedures to see if there's any room for improvement, they become angry at the thought that they are forced to comply with something they do not like. Resistance. Because passive aggressive people feel incapable of expressing dissatisfaction with people, places, or things, they resort to resistance strategies. These may include resisting helpful advice, inactivity, procrastination, gossip, or other forms of noncompliance. Reactance. Passive aggressive behavior is a dysfunctional way of exerting situational control by someone who feels rather helpless or powerless. When avenues for noncompliance don't work as expected, passive aggressive individuals may display reactivity by displaying a hostile attitude or oppositional manner. They protest, procrastinate, do part of what is expected, or back out at the last minute. Normally, they do the job poorly. Reversed reinforcement. While many people feel gratified by the accomplishment of something positive, the passive aggressive feels satisfied when things others want to do don't work out. They feel satisfaction in making a failure experience gratifying. Phrases like, I knew that was a bad idea, or I knew there was no way that idea could work out, are stock and trade of reversed reinforcement. We like to describe passive aggressive behavior as a dance of predictable steps. First, a request is made or something is said or done. This triggers anger or frustration in the passive aggressive person who either refuses to acknowledge their anger or intentionally conceals it. In any case, they refuse to address their concerns. Instead, they behave in a passive aggressive manner, which in turn causes others to become angry and frustrated. This anger is their payoff or moment of reinforcement. This cycle of conflict can continue back and forth until something more constructive, if ever, develops. Whitson describes a passive aggressive conflict cycle. It has five elements. These include an irrational belief, a stressful incident, denial of the feeling, passive aggressive behavior, and the reaction of others. Irrational belief. Because of past experiences, some people believe it's dangerous to publicly express their disagreement and frustrations. Thus, they learn verbal and nonverbal ways of concealing their emotions. On the outside, they appear calm and under control, and they are. Despite their outside appearance, they are angry and frustrated on the inside. Over the years, the person becomes so effective at maintaining this calm exterior that they convince themselves that they aren't angry. For example, let's peek at a couple in a typical marriage relationship. Both the husband and wife believe it's wise to pick your battles. In other words, do not fight or argue over everything that bothers you, just the major stuff. Then something happens that triggers bother in one or both of them. This leads to the stressful incident. Someone will say something or ask the passive aggressive person to do something that triggers the hidden anger. Let's assume, for whatever reason, that a husband has a habit of asking his wife to do seemingly small and insignificant things, such as stopping by the store on the way home from work to pick up something for dinner or getting the dry cleaning. To the husband, it makes sense to this request because he knows that she will drive by these stores on her way home. But this leads to a denial of feelings. The wife may perceive her husband's request very differently. To her way of thinking, it isn't this one request that's unreasonable, it's that he's always asking her to do things like this. She may feel inconvenienced and frustrated that her husband expects her to handle these details, and she may be feeling put upon because he's always asking me to do stuff like this. Further, the wife may think it would be irrational to express anger or object to these tasks because, on the surface, they are relatively small and insignificant and something she could do on her way home. She doesn't want to argue with her husband over something as small as this. She may wonder why she feels so irritated by what seems like a totally reasonable request. This leads to the passive aggressive behavior. Continuing with our example above, the wife appears agreeable and says she will do the chores of going to the store and picking up the dry cleaning. There is little in her demeanor that would indicate displeasure. If her passive aggressive streak is fully functional, several of the following things may occur. She may forget to do either of these things. She might procrastinate and delay, or buy something at the store she knows her husband does not like to eat. Thus, she appears to be fully compliant with her agreement to help, even as she acts out on her frustration of always being the one who does the drive-by chores and errands. This leads to the reactions of others. Meanwhile, based on his wife's agreement, the husband has developed some expectations that she will go to the store and pick up the dry cleaning. If these things do not meet his expectations, he will become angry. "I don't have any clean things to wear tomorrow," he exclaims. He may express his frustration. "You know I hate fish sticks. Why would you buy that for dinner?" On the other hand, the wife remains calm and relaxed and expresses her disbelief that her husband is so unreasonable. "Sure, I may have forgotten to do one of the things, but I think you could show a little more gratitude for what I did for you." The passive aggressive cycle is a dance between people and organizations where requests are made, anger is ignored, outcomes are less than satisfactory, and of course, conflict continues. In today's lesson, we've examined some of the characteristics of bullies, verbal abusers, and passive aggressive individuals. In our next lesson, we will continue our discussion of difficult people by looking at narcissists and other dysfunctional behaviors. We thank you for listening and encourage you to download a copy of today's transcript so that you might complete a short quiz over today's podcast.